I'm going to call the meeting of the Plan of Conservation and Development Committee to order. And I would just ask that everybody who is here to please introduce themselves. So we have a roll call and an introduction at the same time. I'm Frank Manfredi. I'm the chair of the Commission on the City Plan.
I'm Deanna Rhodes. I'm the Director of Planning and Neighborhood Services.
Rick Morrell, Inland Wetlands and Conservation.
Patrick Daly, Police Chief.
Dan Deniska, Assistant City Planner.
Okay, and you folks who are here via Zoom, if you could please introduce yourselves.
Yeah,
Mark Waters representing Chief Montoya Emergency Management.
Thank you.
Kevin Brown, NCDC.
Matt McLaughlin, Director of Public Works.
Regan Miner, Executive Director of the Norwich Historical Society and Vice Chairman of the Historic District Commission.
I'm Robert Collins with the consulting firm of SLR.
And do we have anybody else with us, Dan?
Les King, Vice Chair of the Commission on the City Plan, Property Owners Association, and the Greater Norwich Area Chamber of Commerce.
Hi, Les. Is that it, Dan?
Is Melinda on tonight, Dan? Thank you.
Okay, so I think pretty much everybody knows each other in any event, and thank you for the introductions of yourselves. I guess we have some minutes to approve from the March 9th meeting.
Yes.
Is that correct, Deanna?
Yes, Dan, do you have them up? Shoot.
Has everybody had a chance to look at the
Yeah,
March
I
9th
sent
minute?
those one.
So if we could get somebody to make a motion to approve those minutes, that would be good.
So moved.
So that we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
So just so
I'm
Linda
very
knows-
sorry. I didn't catch who seconded the motion.
Second, I was just gonna
Pat
say you, Pat
Daly
Daly.
did.
Yep, thank you.
I'm sorry. I still didn't hear you. You both spoke at the same time.
Pat Daly seconded the motion.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. All right, so we don't have any old business, and our new business is to introduce our consultant, Robert Collins, who's introduced himself slightly at the moment. And he's going to be our principal presenter and speaker tonight. So Bob, if you want to go ahead and take over, we'd appreciate that.
We can't hear you.
Okay, Bob.
Sorry, I was muted.
All
Yes, well,
That's
thank you
better.
for, yep. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Yes, it's a pleasure to meet everybody tonight and to be with you. My name is Robert Collins, and I am a principal planner / project manager with SLR International Corporation. And we are pleased to be the selected consultant to help you with your POCD update. As many of you might know, or maybe you don't, is SLR and the Connecticut offices, specifically with SLR, are our legacy MMI or Malone and McBroom offices, which is maybe a firm that you're familiar with and you have maybe worked with in the past. I know that we do have some other ongoing work with the city as well, so we're very pleased to work with you on this endeavor as well. My team, very talented planners and technical experts, are here to also help join me in this effort to collaborate with you on the development of the POCD update. My background specifically, I have a fair amount of experience of POCD updates within the state of Connecticut, but I also have experience in comprehensive plan with that throughout the Northeast as well as the state of Florida. So I bring to the table a wealth of experience and expertise and knowledge that I'm looking forward to sharing with you as you all go through this process. My team of talented experts also will be assisting me that include transportation planners, resilient planners, environmental specialists, as well as civil engineers and traffic engineers as we may need. And we also have a very talented group of graphic and visualization team members that will be helping near the end once we start to put together a nice finished product for you that's will be very easy for the community use and to be posted on the website. Sorry about that. My voice went dry all of a sudden. Other than that, I don't have any other necessarily formal presentation. I just wanted to make the introduction. If you all have any questions or want to ask me anything, I'm more than welcome to obviously answer any questions or clarify anything if you would like.
Does anybody have any questions for Bob?
Thank you, Robert.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, Frank?
Oh, go ahead, Les.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. I looked through the RFP. Just a couple of questions. We're running into a concern in the town, all over town right now. It's with a lot of housing issues, and part of that is the technology that we're heading into. And I can't seem to find anything anywhere except a few towns around the country that are really now at this. But Norwich, over the last 2 to 3 decades, has had between 49 and 51% of all residents are renters. Now we are getting, we have anywhere from a low wage to a very high wage of renters coming in. And some of the questions they're beginning to ask are technology based, and some of them are making decisions to go elsewhere based upon some of those answers, specifically transportation and electrical charging stations and technology that they're going to have to start using in the future that we don't have answers for in town. And I didn't see anything in the RFP as far as categorically talking about technology that I think we need to have conversations about what's the town going to look like with all the technology that has to come here in the next few years. And that's one of my biggest concerns now, because we are losing good people coming into town to live here because we don't have answers. I don't know where they're going because I don't know what other towns have answers either. But I just wanted to express that a little bit, that's one of the areas I really think ought to be put in there as far as the category of how we respond to that. You know, how do we help with the transportation, electrical vehicles, charging stations, all of that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Les. Anybody have any response to that, or anybody have any other questions?
I guess I would have a response to that is less, you know, with the plan, that could be some of the strategies. And what we're going to do is, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, the third item is about the survey that we're going to create. And maybe we ask in our survey some questions related to that. But as far as in the RP, we're really looking for the assistance on the technical end of it. That's really what, I don't know if the committee knows, but that we were allotted $50,000 for the POCD to assist Dan and I as our department to help facilitate the creation of the plan. So the demographic information is really hard for us to crunch and do that. So really, that's one of the big tasks that SLR will be taking from us and handling and getting all that census data and really making sense of it for us, as well as the actually formatting the plan and creating the document for us and putting it into that space. Do we want to talk about the 4 tasks that they're going to do really quickly, or Robert, do you want to go over those?
Sure. I mean, I think, yeah, I wasn't quite sure if they knew that or not. But I think, you know, it is, my understanding is that it is going to be a collaborative process with us not only supplying the demographic background, or what we call either a data deck or community profile, which we will review very carefully with the committee as well as with the city staff to make sure that we're getting all the points that are desired. And not every point that we may bring to the table in the data deck might ultimately be something that might be used in the plan, but it's really kind of a tool belt for the widest net of possibilities to be considered. You know, we also are going to be reviewing existing state plans and regional plans from the regional COG. We also are going to be looking at other plans and documents from within the city itself that the planning staff share with us so that we can kind of understand them and be ready to give them guidance. I mean, throughout the community engagement piece, as well as the development of visions and goals, as well as strategies and actions and text, we will be giving a guidance to the city staff since they will be the prime leader of taking care of those tasks. But that's where we come to the table with lots of resources, as I kind of mentioned. And for the specific question that you mentioned about technology, that's something that, Deanne and Dan can turn to us and say, well, this has come out of the survey and we want to include this as a goal. What are some strategies? And we can bring that to the table. We can make recommendations to them of strategies or those types of things that we've done in other communities or through other research that we've done through APA or elsewhere. And when we have addressed that, as a matter of fact, in other communities, the limitation of electric vehicle charging stations and their impacts is something that is going on in other communities, as well as making sure that fiber optics is current and it can be used for not only business growth, but also retention of households that need it and things like that. So we definitely look forward to going along the process and seeing exactly where we might be able to give guidance to the staff and the team. And then lastly, the other major thing that we will be doing, as I mentioned, is that we will be putting all of the document together into a final format. We will be putting it into InDesign, taking care of the graphics and the tables and stuff like that have been developed, and putting that into a really nice graphic a piece at the end. And we have some examples that can be looked at or shared. I know that we just, within the last year, we completed the New Britain POCD update. It is available on their city website. But we have some other examples too, if other members of the committee want to take a look. And we also shared an example sheet with you, Deanna, that you could maybe share with others as well.
We will. That's a great idea. And I was just writing myself a note to do that. So I'll share it with the team so they can go on and look at all the different plans that you've created and how interesting. And I think that, Les, I think your comments were reflected in some of those plans. So there's a couple people joined the meeting. Do we know who those were, Dan?
Tara.
Oh, Tara, welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, sorry. Tara Booker, I'm Director of Human Services, and I don't know why my video isn't working.
I didn't hear what you said.
She doesn't know why her video isn't working.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
We can hear you and see your name, but we can't see your face.
Perfect. Well, I'm here and glad to be here.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Is somebody else too, Dan?
It was just the one?
Just Tara?
Okay, good.
Okay, welcome.
So if no one else has questions for Robert, we're going to move on. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Let's, the timeline, you wanted to talk about that?
So Dan has it up on the screen, so I don't know if anyone can see it on their screens. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So we met with Robert earlier in the week on Monday, and we talked about, all the steps that need to happen in this short time frame. And we're really glad that this is not a condensed time frame that SLR isn't used to. It sounds like a year has kind of been something customary for them. Norwich has taken much longer in the past than a year. So for us, it feels a little crunchy. I feel much better after speaking with Robert about this. And then we took some suggestions, and then Dan created this wonderful timeline of what we expect to happen. So Dan, do you just want to kind of do a brief overview?
Sure. It's broken down into 6 main tasks. There's a lot of overlapping, but it's basically project kickoff and baseline reviews. Tonight is part of that. And then data gathering, and then SLR will be preparing the data deck, community profile. We'll bring that back to this group and kind of go over that with you, get some feedback, some edits. And then at the same time, we're going to be launching stuff on the city's webpage, Facebook, surveys. We're still exploring how exactly that'll all play out. Be attending community events, probably doing some tabling and some surveying. We've kicked around the idea of asking MPU to add something into their newsletter that go out with the bills. Be going and interviewing key stakeholders in the city, as well as different city divisions and departments for their respective areas. A couple community events blocked off in November and April timeline. Some of them may coincide. We may hold a public meeting as part of this group or CCP meeting. And then we get into the plan development itself. So we'll start with draft recommendations, development, visions, and goals. That'll go through this group and CCP for feedback and editing. We'll finalize that and then be developing the plan document itself at the same time. Kind of follows and mirrors the same timeline as things get finalized and put to paper. And at the end, it'll go out for a 65-day public review, comment period, and then be adopted by next August CCP meeting. So really, I was saying to Chief Daly earlier, this is a map of my life for the next 65 weeks.
I know.
So if anyone has any questions or comments.
No, that's a great job, Dan, putting that together like that. It gives a good overview of what we're going to be looking at, what you are going to be looking at, you and Deanna.
Yep, so we're
And,
definitely going to be meeting with so all the departments that are on here today and boards and commissions. You will get something from us, like, a letter and an introduction pretty quickly soon. We're hoping to do this and telling you that, hey, we're kicking off the POCD, and start thinking if there's any documents that you want us to look at that we may not have in our offices. So, I mean, for example, we have the emergency management plan, but maybe there's something that police have a plan that you've done or a study that you want us to at least reference in there. We want to start gathering that information, scanning it, having copies of it for ourselves and for the consultants, and for discussing through the group if those are strategies that we want to continue. I'm also going to be, Dan and I are going to be looking at the Sustainable Connecticut strategies. They have the city right now is currently a bronze level of Sustainable Connecticut. We have a certification, but it's up soon. I think it's up really soon in the next couple months, and it's renewal again, and we're going to reapply it. And NPU is actually the lead on the Sustainable Connecticut. But Sustainable Connecticut really is such a wide range of what sustainability is. It's from art, and it's from streetscapes. It's, it can be gardening, gardens in neighborhoods, all these kind of things. So I think it's a really good tool to use to see if those are strategies that we want to put in our plan or touch on, because that will also help us in the future for Sustainable Connecticut, because we put that in our plan that we have a goal to do that, and we truly are going to do that. So it talks to, going back to Les's comment, there's a lot about like energy efficient vehicles and that kind of stuff. So some of those targets can actually be in the plan. So we'll kind of take some of those things in also one of our department things is put that in as a document we want to look at. So you'll get an introduction, and that includes the schools. I don't know if Dr. Stringfellow's not on here today, but Dr. Stringfellow, Tara, in all the departments, Public Works, saying we're kicking this off. Is anything that you want to share with us that you want included in the plan, or thoughts about the plan, or so that.
Yeah, and we'll carve out a couple hours to come out and meet, especially with Public Works,
Yes.
NPU, and CDC.
Yeah.
The groups that are in the current plan that have a lot of tasks and checkpoints assigned to them,
Yes.
will be coming to meet with you to make sure everyone's on the same page, and we want to continue to work on what we're working on, change things.
And as we've been working in the last few years with the POC PIC committee, there's things that have done there. Believe it or not, we can check some things off that were done that don't necessarily need to go in the new plan, or in the plan it's continue to do those things, And so those are things that we can take some pride in and celebrate, I think, as we're doing the plan of like recognizing what has been done with each of the departments. Hey, what have you done? And then maybe really take some pride in that too as a community, the things that have been completed. So is there any questions about this time frame? And Robert, we just sent this to you tonight, just so you know that, after our discussion on Monday, do you have any comments on it for us, or does it look like we're on target?
I sent some comments to Dan and he already incorporated them. So we are on the ball.
We try, we're a small but mighty office, the Planning and Neighborhood Services Department. So anyone else have questions?
Just to compliment Dan on the wonderful spreadsheet and nice job. So thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
It shows the quality of what we're going to expect in this plan. We really want
Yeah, it
to.
looks really good.
What's that?
No, I said it looks really good.
Oh, okay.
Great. So the next thing we're going to discuss, if you don't mind going on to
No, you
item
keep
3.
going there.
We're going to discuss the survey process and public outreach and Willoughby City's events and volunteers. So I'm going to start by saying that in our RFQ is that we had our office has taken the lead on public outreach and community engagement. And that's because firstly, it's an expensive element and we only have 50,000, but also we feel that we know our community best and that the people here and Global Cities and all our team, we have so many people feet on the ground here that we think that we can do a good job with community engagement ourselves and do these surveys. So we started talking to Robert on Monday also about surveys, and I've looked at quite a few throughout the country of POCD kickoff surveys. And we have an old one in here. I have found an old survey, but we think that there's some better surveys to start about with questions that we think that are relevant to ask. And that goes back to, again, I'm going to bring up less about renters. Where do you live in this? Do you own in the city? Do you rent in the city? Those kind of things. So we really know who's responding to our surveys. And so we're going to do some in person. And so there'll be times that our office will be at the library and doing that. Try to go to different events, maybe work with Regan on some events that they're having and set up tables. But we know that Global Cities is having some events coming up, and their next one is the Peruvian Festival, which is a week from this Sunday. And so what we'd like to do is Dan and I are going to work on the survey, and then I'd like to send it out to this committee as just a very short review period for you, of saying, do you see it? We want to keep the questions very the survey very short. When I say short, no more than 25 questions maybe or something. Tops like 25. This is the
25 is
initial
long.
questions. And we'll send it out to you again. This isn't the deep dive, this is the first dive, but we want to get really some involvement and have people start being excited about this process. So we're going to come up the survey questions. We've got some great surveys from Robert. I appreciate it. I looked all over and looked at other communities and saw theirs. And then but Dan and I have really liked some of the questions that are in the surveys that you provided to us. So, and again, SLR has done this previously. So we're going to probably pick and choose some of these questions, send it out to this committee, really quick turnaround. We'll probably give you 2 days, Dan? 2 days to get back if there's anything that you see that's not being asked, that's again at this kind of higher level. And then start, I think my first event will probably be going to that Peruvian Festival. I'm intending to be there and have a table. I'm going to contact Suki and Global Cities to see if I can have a setup. We're also going to print it in Spanish, which is the primary language in Peru. So I think 84%, I looked up today, speak Spanish. So we're going to have them done in Spanish and in English, and we'll see if we can get as much excitement.
Do you have a target number of responses you're looking for citywide?
So, well, once this survey, no, not really. The more the merrier. How's that? We want to really capture every demographic group in the community. So we're going to do, I'll do a session at the senior center, maybe, and see if so we can get that demographic. And then maybe we can have these at each of the departments. So if they're not long surveys, we could have them English and Spanish and have them available for a certain amount of time. We'll have to figure what that time frame is, so that they're not fluffing in too late after we're, starting the plan. But sharing these online, we're gonna, which leads me to, I'm gonna kind of I'm jumping around a little bit, is on the Global Cities event first, is there anyone else that would like on this committee that's free and would like to be there with me? Again, it's a volunteer thing, so I can't be there all day, but I'd like to be a kind of kickoff and have someone there with me. So Dan is not available. So if anyone that would like to be, you don't have to say it now, but you can send me an email because I will be there. So it'll be really helpful to have some faces from the community, especially all of you are really important stakeholders in the community. So if I can get that, and I'm going to kind of put Kevin on the spot right now. If you're there, are you still there? Kevin Brown?
I am, sorry.
All right, no, so I'm gonna
Wake
kind of
up.
put you on the spot. So I would like to, I'm gonna come to that Peruvian event. And I would like to see I'm assuming, you know, Suki will be there. And I know she has such a great connection to the community. Would she be able to spend some time at the table and try to ramp up some of the excitement as far as getting people to do some
Yeah.
surfing?
You and I will sort that out, Deanna. I would have jumped right on board and said, I'll see you there, but I actually have a family 3-day that's going to have me out of town. But we'll talk to Suki. We'll get that set up. She's always got the Global Cities tables set up just inside the entry point, and I don't think we should set you up somewhere off away from that.
I think that would be a great place to be, because where they're already coming to Global Cities, to be at that table would be really helpful. And then Kevin, if you can talk a little bit about, we'd like to kind of engage this group called Mosaic Lead that are moving into the Foundry. And can you talk a little bit about them?
Sure. So they're actually having their ribbon cutting this Saturday at 3 p.m. But they've been active in the Foundry as a member and a resident for about 30 days now. They got their start out of Western Connecticut, where they were, you know, under the acronym LEAD. They provide education, advisement, and other support to the Latino community. Their role and goal here in Norwich is to take that same effort to reach out to their ethnic community, but expand it to the multi-ethnic community that is Norwich. So they are fancying themselves as the single point of entry for anyone who maybe has English as a second language or is just strongly culturally tied, that maybe isn't confident walking into City Hall and asking questions, or confident walking into NCD and asking business questions. They are the buffer. They are the point of entry, and they'll help with all things. And so they'll certainly be, I think, important, Deanna, to what you're describing about ensuring that these inputs can come from all of our communities.
What was the name of the group?
The Mosaic. Its lead is Latino education, and what was the rest of the acronym?
I'm driving and I can't remember it nor source it, and so certainly please don't ask me to define Mosaic. But the idea is Mosaic is right exactly as the definition described. It's all of the texture and fabric of the colors of our community coming together under one headquarters that is going to help us do outreach.
Yep. And so thank you. So we're definitely going to be taking advantage of them. We also will hopefully be able to get some time on WICH and, you know, obviously to tell them about the survey, where people can find the survey. And this leads on to, you know, we'll probably be transferring this into like a Survey Monkey type of style at some point too online. But this leads to the next discussion on Monday night. Kevin and myself will be presenting to the council. There's a resolution there's going to be for us to purchase a public engagement, a community engagement tool that we can use for not just this project. We're finding that all the grants and different programs that we're doing in the city, every time people want to know, you know, did you engage everyone? How did you reach out? And it's been very difficult to say, yes, we've really reached out to everyone in the city or casted a wide net. So we're hoping, we've been interviewing or sitting in on presentations regarding these tools that are available, web-based tools to be able to do surveying, and you can do them in so many different ways. And I think this one that's really, without giving a name because we haven't selected one, that had tools where we could put a map up there and they could literally put pictures up and throw things on there and put tags, and they're monitored to make sure that if someone starts being like those Facebook negative things, they actually take them off, they monitor it, they kind of hide it in the back so we can still see it as the person who owns that, but it monitors so that it's only really valuable comments. And if someone goes off topic, they're like, thank you, we have your comment. What would you like to comment on this subject? So it's really valuable to have something like that. So Kevin, do you want to talk about that a little bit and then, and you know what we're doing?
No, I think you pretty much nailed it, Deanna. I mean, the point here is, I think one of the key points is what Deanna mentioned, and that is whether it's just simply because it's the right thing to do and getting public input, community engagement is important, or because of the fact that more and more in grant applications, the question is directly asked, what did you do to reach out and get inputs? One of these tools will help us, answer the mail. I think it's a great thing.
And I mean, this tool, we could use for anything, like let's use an example for working on the plan and we want to talk about open space. We can have questions about where should we be looking at purchasing open space or acquiring open space, or where should there be more recreation trails. All those things, and having these availability people to draw them, put them on there, take pictures. What do they love about the city? They can post those. What do they hate about? What's the problem areas that we have? I'm sure we'll get a lot of light pictures, but things like that, and where things can be fixed. And it's such an engaging tool. And there'll be this one particular program that I particularly like is there's the Google Translator right at the top of the page. So you can, once you hit that, it can translate the whole site into the language of the person that's interested in commenting. And it goes into their language, and then we can translate that back into English so that we're able to add that into our survey results. And it's exciting. We can look at by week what comments are, if there's up and down bubbles, those kind of things are what the interest, is going on. And we can limit the amount of time that people have on a survey, so we can end it, so we want to get lots of press release out that we're working on the plan. So when we, again, about public engagement, it's been the outreach within our community and in the city, itself, and also out through all the residents and business owners, everybody, because it's economic development also in this plan of, what things can we do for businesses and tourism and everything, and historic assets, all those things. And we can really come up with small surveys and work with each one of these groups. If you have a specific questions that you want us to ask about policing in the city or something, we could create surveys and put it on there and keep them short time that can help us with creating those sections. So so be supportive if you're available to come to the council meeting one day. I'm pretty confident that we'll get the $20,000, but it's not a huge lump of money, but it's ARPA money, and we really feel it's valuable, and it would help us contribute greatly to this project.
Sounds awesome, Deanna. I love the thought of it. It's awesome.
And you could even use it, like I said, it would be available, once it's available. If, the Historical Society wants to use it for a survey about walks there, it would be owned by the city. So I think you could use it for so many tools. It's a really kind of cool. So if you want to volunteer, so going back to, I'm going to be at the 24th, I'll be there. It'll be a good kickoff. We're going to send out surveys, a sample survey to all of you that are on the committee. Please take quick turnaround and tell us if you have anything else. But again, kind of keep that idea that we want to keep a certain number of questions. And so we don't want it to go on and on with more questions. So if you see something you want added, that's a general kind of question, maybe give us a suggestion of what would that replace so that we're not continuing adding more questions. Public outreach, what else on public outreach? Anything else? I think a little bit about, we want to talk about branding a little. So we kind of, I think we want to create a momentum, and Kevin and I spoke about this, and I spoke about it to Dan too, and I think this committee should be really involved. We feel this is an exciting thing. It only happens once in 10 years, and it's our vision for the future that we almost want to brand that we're working on our POCD. This is it. So we don't have a particular brand yet, but we're thinking of something. And we'll throw out some suggestions to you of what we're thinking. And maybe this group can say, hey, we like that. And it would just be, again, it could start as just kind of an umbrella brand. And it's not the branding for the whole city. It's more branding for what we're doing right now, is looking for the future, looking at this creation of this plan. But it would just be something that we can use in all of our promotions and, something exciting instead of just like, hey, it's a POCD meeting. It's like, I think that would be great to come up with something. So if you have suggestions, we'll ask for those, but we'll also throw out a couple of ideas that we're kind of floating around internally. Does anyone have a problem with that? Do you think it's a great idea? Do you think that's not? And Robert, what do you think about that as well?
I can't support that enough, because I think it's very important, especially for the excitement that you have going into the project, and giving it up, giving the update a brand of some kind of, like Norwich 2040 or 2030 or something like that. I think is very crucial. And then you can use that at all, throughout the next year, so people are connecting the dots with it.
I think it sounds like a great idea too. And I do really think that the city should think about branding itself as a whole down the road. And maybe that's something that we incorporate in the next POCD as an action item. So I'm all for it. I love it.
Anyone else have any comments about it?
Deanna, I do, but I don't think you want me to say it.
You can say it.
Look, I have a fixed opinion about what that branding should be centered on. And it is the fact that our zip code ends in 360, and Vision 360 or Norwich 360 or something that leverages our own zip code ending in 360, I think helps somehow create some stick to whatever it is that we brand.
Does anyone have any thoughts about that? Because, the 360 is, we're obviously it's looking all around. It's seeing everything. It's a complete world, vision. Yeah. So
I like the idea. I think that's a cool, tongue-in-cheek way to incorporate our zip code. And then I think the theme that we want to encompass, like you just said, Deanna, looking all around us, looking 360 degrees. I think that's a cool concept.
anyone else on the call? Anyone else think? I'm kind of curious of everyone's thoughts on Kevin's idea. I love it, but we'll see what anyone else.
Look, I
really like it. And one of the things.
Who is speaking? I'm sorry. Oh, Chris.
What did you say, Chris?
I'm saying I really like it, and a lot of times you hear people saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, you having problems hearing me?"
Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying that Norwich has also often said that there's not enough vision. There's not a look at the future. I think this is really something that cements that. We're thinking about it. We're looking at.
We're having technical difficulties. Anybody else want to comment on that issue?
I'll translate for Chris. I mean, I think we heard it though, right? He's talking about the fact that a lot of folks might suggest at times that Norwich is short-sighted and doesn't demonstrate vision. By incorporating word vision into it, it defeats that into everything that everybody else has said. Using the 360, whether it's we were looking all around Norwich, or the fact that from a global city standpoint, we accept people from all around the world. We're an accepting community. There's a bunch of cool branding things that I think could be tethered to that.
I think you might have it there already, Vision 360.
Or Norwich Vision 360.
Oh, yeah. I like that, Pat.
Anything else, Deanna?
I will send again really quickly. Also, we're sending out a survey. You have a quick turnaround. Volunteers, if anyone's available that wants to sit at the table, I'm going to ask to sit at the Global Cities table. So if you could talk to Suki about that. I also am going to reach out, Dan or myself are going to reach out and try to talk to Mosaic and get that started. And I think that's the end for talking about public outreach at this point. So Frank, I think we're on to the next.
Yeah, which is basically public comment. Is there anybody from the public on the Zoom meeting, Dan? No, so we don't really have any public comment. There's nobody here other than committee meeting members, either through Zoom or in person. Does anybody on the committee have any comments that they want to make at this time before we adjourn? Okay, it sounds like that's a big no.
Can I just make a comment? We have a calendar. You've all received that calendar. We may have to meet more frequently, you know, and we may not have to as a committee. It's going to depend on when Dan and I start doing those meetings with each of you in your departments or you and kind of saying, hey, this is a bigger issue. It needs to come up to everybody. But if we have those meetings, what we can do is report out, the plan will be to report out to everyone of what we learned at each of those departments or each of those agencies. Or so, you know, that's what we're going to plan to do. Unless you feel there's any other way that you prefer it to be. But I think that's what we think is going to be the most efficient is we meet and then we give you what their ideas and tasks were.
That sounds great. Anybody else at this point? I want to thank Deanna and Dan and Bob for all their hard work so far. I know there's a long road ahead, that we have a lot of work ahead of us as a committee. But thank everybody for coming and participating tonight. And we do have a schedule that's already been put out, so we will have more meetings.
And I want to remind you all that you are the champions. This committee is the champions of the plan. So, you know, you selling it to people, you getting input from if it's in your department or your agency or commission from the public, always thinking about the plan, especially during this time. To really, and if you know people who don't feel heard, this is their opportunity. And like I said, once we get this, if we don't have this engagement going up really quickly, which our goal would be to get it going quickly, at least we can try to get something, a Survey Monkey on our website or something, so we can at least start getting comments soon. So we'll do a QR code or whatever and get that out there. People can click on it. Maybe we'll put that strategically in the library with, you know, so they can either do that on the website and do it or do it on the paper. But we want to give people lots of options. And but again, as the stakeholders and as champions, we really need your assistance because it can't be on the weight of just Dan and myself and the chairman of the CCP and our consultant. It's all on us. It's, you know, and we're a collaborative effort. And the better involvement that you have, the better our plan is and more complete and a real true goals for the city to move forward.
Good. So unless there's something else, I guess we would entertain a motion to adjourn. So we got one and a second. We have a motion by Pat Daly, second by Rick Morrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. This is exciting.
See you soon.
Yay.
Aye.
See you soon.
Which?
I can find